Uh-oh. Did we cut out audio?
Now I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, that might have been me. I was like, maybe my mic was off. I don't know. I've done that before. So, live today with April from KC Motorworks. Thank you so much for being here. Glad to have you.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And it's so crazy. Every single week, I kind of do a review, or I have some people kind of talking about the videos and messaging me and just kind of asking, some people have kind of asked how they can get on here, and some people have basically just said, every week it just doesn't fail that you bring on these people who are basically really engaging, people who should be on here, and we want to go and support those small and local businesses. So I think that this one is man, you guys have just been so supportive of my family in so many aspects for a long period of time. So it's an honor to be able to have you here with us today.
I appreciate it. We love you guys, and I'm excited to be here.
Definitely. So because of just limited time, I always like to just kind of dive right in and everything. So tell us about KC Motorworks. How did that formulate, and what do you guys do?
So KC Motorworks started roughly about 10 years ago. My husband Chris has always been in the car industry. He's always had an eye for it and a love for it. He started at a young age. He was working at a local school district doing heating and air conditioning, but he started doing cars on the side because he just wanted to keep working on them. Working on air conditioners and stuff wasn't his jam. So he started doing it out of our house. He did that for 3 years. And then one day he just said, I want to open up my own shop. So literally with $1,500 to our name, we rented out a building and invested everything that we had into that business. And here we are. We've been in that space for almost 8 years now, 7 years. And we're actually in the process of building a new building right now to expand.
Wow.
Been doing so well. Even during COVID, we've been blessed to be open and stay afloat, and our clientele is amazing, and they've been fully supportive and supporting us through this whole journey. And so it's been a long road, but an exciting one. And
that's pretty incredible. Oh man. Yeah, no, I love that. $1,500 and putting everything in it, and now you're in the middle of building your own building. That's incredible.
Yeah, my husband basically just said, you got to trust me, we'll make it work. And he was right. I mean, he proved me wrong because I was very hesitant on doing it.
Sure.
Moving a job where you're getting salary pay, it was hard to dive into being self-employed. And he made it happen. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I would say I can't imagine, but I did it right when I left, and basically for my account, when I left, I had $350, I think, for what we call like extra or stuff, right? Stuff that is not going to cover the bills and all those things. And Sharon was working, and I basically I went ahead and registered the LLC in the business name. And she was just like, all right,
here we go.
And she didn't hesitate, she didn't hesitate. She just said, you deserve to do this, and I know that you can do it. I didn't know I could do it at the time, but so it takes it's a great partnership that you guys have, to be able to rely on each other and to trust each other like that. And what do you think has attributed to that success that you guys have had within the last 8 years?
So we really haven't advertised at all. We've basically made our name by word of mouth. So that just shows the quality, and people really connect with Chris and our staff. A lot of our clientele is military based because we are located just outside Peterson Air Force Base. And so, once we can get you in, we can almost guarantee that we're going to make you a customer for life.
Love that. Yeah. And I mean, even prior to me knowing that you were the owner of it, I had seen the name multiple times in my feeds and with other people prior to launching, the business and stuff like that. So for me to connect the two was like, oh, I didn't know, and Sharon was
Yeah.
like, she's like, yeah, she goes, well, I guess you don't talk to my clients too much anyway. So, at
Yeah.
least then, but, yeah, so it's really great to know that you guys are right there outside of Fort Carson, that you guys service and support the military big time.
Yes.
And, you guys also provide is a 10% savings for military as well?
Yes, we do a 10% military savings
Okay.
off your total bill.
Oh, that's incredible. So not just like off of one particular portion, but
Nope.
the entire bill. Okay.
Yes.
Nice. Yeah, you don't see that. I mean, for a while it was really prevalent, and then it seemed to kind of go away, I think, for a lot of industries. And
Yes.
so I know that you guys are definitely one of the ones that have always maintained that. So that's really nice, especially for, how many families are coming in and out all the time. So,
Yes, with our town being so, it's prominently military, and I was raised in a military background. We have a great appreciation for what our military does for us. That it's the least we can do for
yes.
them.
Yep, I agree. That's awesome.
Yes.
So with how did this kind of transition go from basically I have to trust Chris to do what he's doing to basically kind of being like the the front man, so to speak, or the front person for the organization of the business, the face of the business, because you do, well, all the social media, and you do,
Yes.
scheduling, and I mean, so, how did that transition come? How did you handle that, with also being full-time mom?
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I ain't gonna lie, us working together side by side was difficult. It was a big strain on our marriage for sure.
Hmm.
Um, in the very beginning, it was a one-man show. Chris ran the back. I did a lot of the paperwork, and we did that for, gosh, the first year, 2 years.
Okay.
And as we started to grow and build our staff, we started to realize that my place was more the social media, the behind the scenes
Hmm.
type of aspect. Chris is so hands on that when it came to stuff in the shop, he likes to be the one who does all that.
Okay.
So I'm more savvy when it comes to the technical, and I'm definitely more social than he is. So it just made sense for me to be the one who did all the social media, who did networking, who reached out to customers and possible new clients, going to businesses and reaching out to them,
Hmm.
because we also we not only work on vehicles, but we work on a lot of fleet cars. We do a lot of full size heavy duty trucks, semis, Peterbilts, that type of thing as well.
Sure.
So whether it was going to other businesses to try and gain their trust, and their business, coming to us with their fleets, that just, it was natural for me being able to speak so easily, to take on that role
Sure.
as you want to say, the face.
Right. Yeah, and that kind of speaks to my language, right? Because I spent 10 years at Progressive working with commercial auto, mostly truckers,
Yes.
So even now, like, I notice things like PUC numbers all the time and DOT numbers,
Mm-hmm.
and try
Yep.
to tell Sharon, I was like, oh yeah, they probably have $1 million worth of coverage at least, and they've got,
Yeah.
I was like, oh, you see that? That means that they carry cargo, and she's like, I don't care,
Yes.
and I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to stay awake here in the car, so.
Yeah. Yep.
But yeah, it's funny. So no, that's awesome to know that you guys take care of so many different things, because that's tough. I mean,
Yes.
those some of those trucks can get up to 1 million miles.
Yes.
Sometimes they're on roads for hundreds of thousands of miles at a time, and
Mm-hmm.
and then if they're stuck, because of maybe DOT issues or whatever, and to be able to have to get in and out really quickly. So
Yes. And a lot of people don't realize that those full size heavy duty trucks, there's not very many places here that work on them, unless you
right,
want to go to the actual Peterbilt or Transwest, where that's all they do is semis, which for the most part, when you go there, you're going to pay premium
Mhm.
for those repairs. So
Sure. Yeah. Well, I mean, it definitely makes you guys an expert in what you do, because there's so limited amount of mechanics that can work on those things. So it's good to know that, especially with my clients, right? So
yeah.
we got so many of the truckers and things like that that are basically, they need that. So that is fantastic. Um, how have you guys cemented really just kind of your place in Colorado Springs, Falcon area, kind of things like that? So did you guys ever look at location wise in terms of where you would be? I know you initially started out at the home, but like when trying to decide what's a great location for us for our business, what's going to be kind of a prime location for us, to be able to be easy access, but also still be maybe far enough away from home, so to speak, or you know what I mean. So sometimes where a change of element.
Right. So to be honest, when Chris first said that he wanted to go on this adventure and find a shop and open one up, in the very beginning, we weren't picky about where we wanted to be. It was more about the price point at that point. But then the longer we were looking, we realized that being more on the east side of town spoke to us more. We specialize in diesels. That's our biggest consumer base right now is diesel customer.
Okay.
And with that demographic, majority, not all, but majority of them are going to be on the east side of town because we've got our ranchers and our farmers.
Makes sense.
Being where we are along 24, trying to stay close to a military base was big to us as well. Because we knew that would bring in a huge clientele base. With us being outside of Peterson, it's so easy for someone to come first thing in the morning, drop off their car, and they can literally walk to Peterson Northgate and go to work. And then at the end of the day, come pick it up or catch a ride with a buddy, meet them at the shop and ride into the gate and get in that way. But the east side really spoke to us demographically for a consumer base.
Sure. Makes sense.
So yeah, our new building is also still going to be on the east side of town. So
nice.
And you don't have, I feel like there's not as much on the east side. Everything is starting to grow that way, it's pushed that way. So I felt like we kind of got ahead of the curve there. When you go in town, I mean, it's flooded. You can, you can see a shop almost on every corner, I feel like. So
yeah, no, absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. So to kind of be cemented and have a good reputation, but also just kind of be a part of that and center, almost kind of like, on a centerpiece in regards to that growth. So I love that, and I love the fact that, again, it just kind of reinforces that, Chris kind of believed that, that this is kind of what that looked like. Do you think that he ever believed that it would be what it is now?
I think he had hopes. Do I truly 100% believe he thought it would happen? No, I think he was equally as scared as I was in the beginning.
Sure.
But he was putting on a brave face that he could make it happen. I mean, and he did. And I knew it was something he had to do. I knew if I didn't let him do it, I knew he would look back and think, what could our lives have been? That what if of would it have been successful? And so I knew we just had to take that leap of faith. And I think it's definitely surpassed what he thought this would become.
I like that you're fully transparent about all of that stuff. I particularly remember a Facebook post. It must have been probably a year ago at least. And it basically just kind of talked about how you've been on the low side of life, maybe scrambling, eating ramen, and then, now kind of enjoying some success and stuff like that, being able to, build a new building and things like that. But the acknowledgement level, the humility is still there. So what?
I can't even count how many times we had ramen noodles, mac and cheese. We would add the hot dogs, if you had hot dogs and mac and cheese, it was a gourmet meal.
You're right.
But we did what we had to do, and it took a lot of time and a lot of work, sweat and tears. But yeah, to see what it's become it's amazing, and I think that's what keeps us very humble. Is we came from nothing. He literally built the American dream. Like I said, we had $1,500 to our name, and that wasn't even counting the bills. I mean, that was all we had. We hadn't even paid the bills for that month. And
Mm-hmm.
he made it happen. So
I love that. I think that's incredible. And it's, that fits what we're doing here, right? That story's worth telling, because I think even this morning I was talking to one of my best friends. He helped me launch the agency. He helped me create so many opportunities and just a wealth and a knowledge of different ideas. And he's paralyzed to start his own business. This
mm-hmm.
is the guy that he gave me so many nuggets of wisdom, but
Yes.
he's afraid to pull the trigger himself.
Yes.
And, you know, I basically just had to tell him, I was like, you have all the tools and you gave me all the tools to do what I do. I was like, there's no reason for you not to try.
Yes.
And so, you know, kind of taking that leap of faith, and then maybe the next leap oftentimes is kind of to hire an employee.
Yep.
And then to, speaking of
Yes, there's
which,
always a next level that it's scary. It's being self-employed. Everything you do is a roller coaster ride.
yes, yeah,
So yeah, I get it. It's definitely not for the weak. I mean, you definitely have to put in a lot of hours. I mean, Chris was working at least 20 hours a day in the beginning.
wow,
to ensure that we were going to have the money that month to make rent and all that good stuff. So and you know, I mean, you're a prime example as well.
yeah, it was
It's
like
a lot of work.
yeah,
It's definitely a lot of work.
it is. But I remember having that conversation, and it's scary on both sides. You know, I remember telling Sharon, us, you know, because literally the day after I filed the paperwork, I got an offer from a company that said that they would give me $120,000 a year to basically do an easier version of what I did before. And I was like,
Right.
where was this 6 months ago, 3 months ago, 4 days ago? Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the same girl that turned around and said, hey, you deserve to be happy. You should start your own business. I will support you. Also turned around and said, well, hey, maybe you can just do that on the side while you work this to build it up for a while, you
Yes.
know? And
Yeah.
I understand, right? I mean, that was a lot of money to turn around,
Yeah.
and you know, my thought process was like, man, if I could bank even just a portion of that, I would have the opportunity to do all these things. And, you know, I really went back and forth on it, and eventually just had to say, you know, I think if they offered it to me once, they'll be willing to offer it to me again.
Yeah.
They probably see something that maybe I don't see in myself at the moment, but that was enough for me to kind of take that leap. And so has your growth process changed? Have you seen yourself maybe materialize, or, you know, or just kind of seen a change in yourself in terms of the growth because of all the things that you've had to do, maybe appreciation more for other businesses, customer service, things like that?
Yeah, for sure. The growth it's been, I mean, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, that's what everyone wants their business to be successful and grow and, you know, become this huge, amazing thing. But with that comes lots of hours in, lots of stress, lots of sacrifice for that. And even with the growth, I mean, I'd love to say that Chris is able to shut the shop down at 5:30 and come home and have dinner and, you know, and shut it off. But that's not how it works. I mean, with the growth is still long nights, late hours. A lot of times the kids and I bring dinner to him and he eats it at the shop. Again, that I think that's what keeps us very humble is, you know, we've seen the other side. And we don't want to go back there. That was tough. And we're extremely blessed to be in the situation that we're in right now. So
Love that. Did COVID have any impact to you guys?
COVID for the first 2 weeks was definitely scary. I think that was, you know, when the whole world was in a panic, the whole state. And so it was pretty slow. We had very few cars in the shop. The cars that we did have in there it was a dire need. They had to have it repaired. Otherwise they were stranded.
Right.
After that, it picked back up. It got back to normal. It's definitely still a little bit of a roller coaster. It's not as steady as in years past.
Right.
But we're still doing good, and we're still going strong.
Good, good. Yeah, I know that it's always kind of a weird process when you have to think about that you might have to pivot your business, or that you might have to maybe change the way that you do things. And so I know for a lot of people, for me, I had to change meetings from coffee to Zoom, right, or Google,
Yeah.
which again, it wasn't too difficult, at least on my end, but I don't really have a tangible product. So for me, the tangible product is myself. But when that's your possession, something that you're working on, or it's something that somebody else owns and it's in your possession, I know that then kind of changes the game quite a bit. So again, I'm really glad to hear that you guys are doing that. And then what I wanted to really highlight specifically for you today is just, man, you're out here in the military community. I know that you guys have been personally impacted, with recent events and stuff like that. And, I was so proud to see several people on my timeline sharing in regards to the new sign up there for Ryan Sarter. And It's been such an incredible journey to be able to see the support that you give and all of those things. So can you kind of walk us through a little bit in terms of just how your journey has been in regards to this process? And, for those of you who don't know, maybe you can kind of shed a little bit of light in regards to that as well.
Sure. We have strong military ties. I grew up an Army brat. My brother's Army, my sister's Army, our best friends, Army. And of course, being in Colorado Springs, it's hard not to meet people who are not connected to the military. We had the privilege of years ago, 10, 11 years ago, when we first moved into our house, we met some amazing neighbors. They had kids similar ages. We were similar ages, and we just hit it off very quickly. And that was Sergeant Major James Ryan Sarter and his wife, Deanna. We became very close over the years, extremely close just in the past few years. Her husband last summer was deployed to Afghanistan and was killed in action last July. And since that has happened, we have become even closer. Definitely become a support for one another. Ryan was my husband's best friend, and Deanna's my best friend. So it was a huge, huge loss to our family. They've luckily our community is amazing and have really rallied and done a lot for the family. And like you just said, they just named a portion of Highway 24, the stretch of Falcon, in Ryan's name. And the community was so great that the community are the ones who paid for the signs.
Yeah.
They raised the money in less than a day to cover the cost of the signs for the family and
That's
to
incredible.
get those done. So yeah, it's amazing. And throughout this horrible situation, we have met some amazing people. A lot of them, in the Army, that have now become our family. And again, we already had a strong military background and appreciation for the military, that it's just pushed us even more to have a greater love and appreciation for them.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for being able to share that. I know, even sharing, in her interactions with Dee and everything, there's no words, right, to be able to go through that. And Ryan's definitely he's a local hero, and so I love the fact that I'm proud to know that you're a part of my circle because of your efforts and your works, with the military community. And I think it's important for people to know that, who is it that they're supporting when they give their business, to small and local people. What do they represent? What do they stand for? And so I love the fact that you guys, there's no question who you guys are supportive of, where your time and your efforts are going toward outside of, the crazy hours of business and stuff like that. So I just think it's so important for people to know, that that's where your heart is. That's where your family spends their time, So,
a part of our, with these unfortunate circumstances, we have taken a lot of our income and donated them to numerous military foundations who help these Gold Star families. And not only the Gold Star families, but even current military members who need help with different things that are going on in life. So we definitely want to support and show our love, and that's just one small way we can do it. We're going to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have two staple questions here on this channel that have really kind of, I guess, become staple, more or less. So the first one is basically for people who are watching this. Maybe they're an entrepreneur, maybe they're started or thinking about a side hustle, maybe they're struggling in business. What would be some advice that you might give to somebody who's maybe they're kind of on the cusp of thinking about starting a business? Maybe somebody who's watching this thinking that, what, maybe I need to do something different, trying to find maybe their why or some of their purpose, stuff like that. What advice would you have for them?
I can't stress it enough. You really need to understand the time and stress and effort that goes into starting a new business. And it doesn't end there. Even if you have a successful first year, that continues into the next and the next and the next. To me, I almost feel like with the growth, it's almost harder. You're getting in so many more factors, and time is of the essence, and there's just not enough hours in a day. But gosh, I see a lot of people who go into wanting to start a business thinking, because a lot of business owners, I feel like, make it look easy. And they don't stress, how hard it is and how much time they put in and how much money they've put in. And so a lot of people think, oh, I can do it. And it's not that easy at all. Behind that brave face, trust me, they're crumbling behind closed doors, because it is very hard. The other thing is, and I'm not going to lie, and it sounds stupid and silly and naive, but the taxes.
No, that's a huge, that's huge. Yes.
I feel like that's something a lot of people don't think about when they decide to start up a business, is what you pay in taxes. And getting used to that too. We kind of goofed the first few years and not doing quarterlies, and that hurt big time. Once we figured out, oh, okay, well, you're supposed to pay your taxes every 3 months, or, so you don't get hit at the end of the year with this big bill. But gosh, I would seriously look into your taxes, because taxes is huge. It's huge when you're self-employed. And like I said, when Chris was doing heating and air conditioning, we were getting money back every year, and we were getting a good amount back. So we didn't even think about taxes when we decided to go self-employed. And I feel like that messes up a lot of businesses, because then they get behind on their taxes because they don't configure that into their income, and setting aside, money to pay those taxes, and they get behind and they end up getting shut down because the IRS came in and, took everything.
I think that's a huge point that, so I think you're actually video number 10 in the series, which is crazy to think that we've already had 10 people come on here, and yet you're the first person to actually mention that and talk about that. So no, thank you, because it's real. There are a lot of people where, we trade more time for more money, essentially, as a business owner versus maybe somebody working the corporate or working the 9 to 5. Again, we also trade in probably for more stress, less sleep, and all those different things. But we do pay more taxes, because most of the time, and the goal and the hope is that, it's a good problem to have if you can plan for it and accommodate for it the right way.
Absolutely.
Because then that means that your tax bracket is changing, that you're probably making more money. So.
Well, and like us, we went into it, we didn't ask a financial advisor or get with a CPA or anything. We just went into it blind, and looking back, I wish we would have got with a CPA and known what we were truly getting into.
Sure.
But yeah, and everyone that's self-employed wants to better themselves, wants to better their family. There's always another level. You reach that level, then you set another level goal, and you're always trying to accomplish that. And like you just said, with that, your tax bracket changes, and there's a lot of people who get screwed and end up having to shut down because they're just not thinking about the taxes.
Right. Yeah, that's a great point. Thank you so much for bringing that up, because even a lot of people that I've helped to transition,
Mm-hmm.
I forget to bring that up too. Because it's one of those things. It's like once it's out of sight, out of mind, we try not to think about it
Yes.
until it comes up, and then you're like, oh crap, I got to go back and let them know that's my bad.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
Exactly. So. Yeah. No one seems to think about it. It's like I said, we didn't even think about it at all until it came to filing our taxes that year, and we had a big awakening. And
yeah, see, and you would think that I would remember stuff like that because I'm also in that forgotten realm, insurance.
Mm-hmm.
People don't think about it unless they have to. So,
yes.
And then, so our other staple question here is, if you didn't have any limitations, whether it be finances, whether it be time, maybe even kids, what would April be doing? What would Chris be doing? And if it aligns with exactly what you're doing now, that's perfectly fine too. But I mean, what are some things on the bucket list that you guys are wanting to cross off?
Oh gosh. I definitely want to travel. I'm like Sharon. Every month, if I could go somewhere, I would. My husband is not so much a traveler, but I honestly think Chris would probably be doing exactly what he's doing right now, but maybe being able to shut down, at 6 o'clock every day, and being able to turn it off and go home and not think about anything.
Sure.
That's super hard when you're self-employed. It's hard to turn it off when you should be off.
Yes.
You went on vacation not that long ago, and we had that discussion, try to enjoy your vacation and try not to put work and answer phone calls, and that's hard not to do.
Yes.
Especially when it's you want to be responsible, you want to be reliable, you want to respond back, to potential clients immediately. And it's hard. It's a hard balance. I would think so. For Chris, I would say that's probably would be his thing, is being able just to shut it off when it's time to shut it off. Yeah. But being business owners, I don't think that's possible.
Sure.
Even, I would say a good business owner could never shut it off. No matter if you're making millions or billions, it's always running.
Yeah. It definitely brings a whole different light to that song or that line, more money, more problems.
Yep.
And it, I mean, like, I used to always joke around, right? Especially Wells Fargo in the past couple of years, they've lost a lot of money to lawsuits. Yeah. And I used to joke around. I said, I know what I do to protect just a little amount that I get in a paycheck. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine what types of things that I would be doing to try and save billions and millions of dollars. Right. But I would still like the opportunity.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, absolutely.
So, it is interesting though, like how just when you transition, it's almost like almost everything changes, right? Because you're the way that you have to think, and you're used to being kind of told this is how you have to do things. And then when you no longer have to ask for permission, and now you're kind of second guessing, like, is this okay? Mm-hmm. And then you put that stress on yourself, and then you're doing work, and then you're like, now I got to double check to make sure that went through okay. And then you're following up, and so it's constant. It's always an evolving process. But again, at least from our perspective of, Sharon and I, and
Mm-hmm.
I think for a lot of your clients and stuff like that, you guys are doing a fantastic job, and we're, again, just proud to be part of your guys' circle.
Thank you.
Um, at this point in time, I mean, I know that work has been busy, but what can we do to, as a community, to better support KC Motors at this point in time?
Um, I mean, I'd love to say that I'd like business to be more steady. COVID has really, it has been a roller coaster. We've been, like I said, we've been blessed that we've been afloat and we still are bringing in an income.
Mhm.
But typically this time of year is usually from about May to September is our busiest time of year. And it's nonstop, phones ringing, vehicles constantly in and out. And of course, with no one being able to travel, that's huge because that was a lot of our business for the summer is people trying to get their cars ready to go on vacation and drive across the country and all that stuff. But like I said, we're in the process of building a new building. We're trying to grow. Chris and I would love to grow exponentially. Chris, he wants to stay a smaller shop. He likes to be personal with our customer base.
Sure.
He likes to know people on a name basis, and he likes to see who's coming in and out. I've always said, "Oh my gosh, we should, open up multiple locations and." The sky's the limit type deal. And Chris is just 100% against that. He does not want to do that. He wants to keep it personable. He wants to keep it small. But we are growing with the new shop. And with that, of course, with that growth, we will definitely need, more business
Mm-hmm.
to support that growth. But yeah, so I mean, whatever you guys need. I mean, like I said in my little bio earlier, we don't do auto body, but anything as far as under the hood, under the car, and inside the car, we can take care of you.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, guys, you have heard it here first. Facebook.com/KC Motorworks. You can definitely reach out. I know that I've been able to kind of set appointments, get schedules, and get pricing through all that. You can also check out their website, and you can also call them directly as well. Do you guys do a lot? I know the emails there. Do you guys get a lot of email as well, typically?
We
Or
actually
mostly
do
just...
get quite a bit of email.
Okay.
A lot of new customers that's usually how they contact us.
Okay.
To do quotes and things like that. But yeah, we get a lot through email.
Okay, awesome. And I know that some of our other business partners, have already posted in here. So we had Elise Pushbosh
Yes.
basically comment, best shop in town for sure. And so again, it's not like we're just coming in here and just bringing in people who are not necessarily who people don't know. I mean, you have other business owners who basically are advocating for these businesses. And April, in closing, really today, I mean, was there anything else that maybe is on your mind, or anybody that you would want to kind of maybe give a shout out to, or anything like that? I mean, we've got probably about 6 minutes or so to really just kind of, have kind of open forum for anything that's heavy on your heart.
Oh gosh, don't put me on the spot here. Well, Elise, I appreciate it. Elise, gosh, before I met her through Sharon, her and her husband have been bringing their vehicles to us for a few years. And I think I was getting my nails done and Elise was waiting before all this COVID stuff. She was waiting for me to finish up and she had said like, "Oh, do you guys own KC?" And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "Oh, my husband's truck is actually in there right now." Like, oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I know there's some other, clients that Sharon has too that have and continue to bring their vehicles to us.
Yeah.
But like I said, we are really big on word of mouth. We don't really advertise that much. If I do, it's just on Facebook. But we take pride in what we do. And that word of mouth is basically how we thrive. We love that. And as most people know, that's I'm going to go to someone if someone recommends them to me. I'm not real big on hopping on Google or, you know, finding what's closest to me or any of that stuff. I'm looking for referrals from people who have tried, you know, they're tried and true. And
Yeah,
so that word of mouth to us means everything to us. So we
absolutely.
appreciate it. So thanks, Elise.
No, I think you're right. I mean, no matter how much marketing, how much money you throw at it, ultimately at the end of the day, people want a referral of somebody that they trust. You know, they
Yes.
want to know that somebody else has used it and that it works, and all of those things. And I think, again, I mean, 8 years, very little marketing. I think that tells a lot about what you guys do. So, again, I can't thank you enough for your time of being on here and your willingness to come in here. Guys, again, make sure you're definitely get in contact. If you would like April to reach out to you directly, just type in hashtag KCMotoWorks, and then she'll see it in the comments and be able to follow up. And again, feel free to reach out directly on the links below right here, all the different ways to contact April and her husband, Chris. And tomorrow, guys, we will actually have a double header in terms of scheduling for videos. So we actually have Stephanie Browning live tomorrow at 10 a.m. If you don't know her, she's the owner of SB Staging, and she is incredibly connected with everybody and very humble person. And then at 12:45 tomorrow, I'm sorry, 1 p.m. tomorrow, we have Rebecca Moore. Her and her husband are owners of Calm Enterprises. Just an incredible story, incredible journey, incredible growth. So that will be tomorrow. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Stories Worth Telling. Thank you to my guest, April, for being here today. Very much appreciate your time. And guys, we will catch you tomorrow. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Thanks.